Mr. Uezu Yoshihide was born in 1950 in Okinawa, Japan. From a young age, he exhibited exceptional spiritual qualities and began seeking answers to questions such as what is life, where do people go after death, and what lies behind the grave. At the age of 22, he was guided by an inner voice that urged, "Blind man, open your eyes." He embarked on a rigorous path of self-awareness and awakening. For over a decade, he remained unwaveringly committed to his meditation practice, and eventually he attained a state of awakening in unity with the consciousness of the universe. In 1988, Mr. Uezu relocated to Yamanashi Prefecture and began to touring various parts of Japan to deliver lectures on truth, healing, and guided meditation. His work gradually expanded to include countries such as United States, Canada, France, Norway, Thailand, South Korea, India, China, New Zealand, and more. We will be interpreting and sharing his wisdom of one of the lectures he gave titled, "I and the Divine Are One, Enlightenment." If you can understand Japanese and or Chinese Mandarin, then I encourage you to watch the original clip, the links of which are in the description.
被招待而来的很多，但是被选中的却很少。
そういえば、
如果这么说，
特別な人間が招かれるという錯覚をしている人間のなんて多いことか。
就有很多人会错觉的以为只有特殊的人才会被选中。
For many are called, but few are chosen. If I said this, many may misinterpret it as only special people can be chosen. Being called means being given a life, an existence, so all are being called. In this universe, there is no coincidence. Even for a small sparrow, if it's not for God's will, it would not come to the earth. God's will means being given God's life. Even a small ant by your foot is a manifestation of life. It is also being called. So this phrase, for many are called, but few are chosen. Many people don't understand what it means by chosen. So what does it mean by chosen? This is he or she is awakened to whether our bodies are the real self or our life essence is the real self. He or she has realized this from the inside and manifests this in his or her own daily life. This is called chosen. When a person reaches this state, you can say this person and the divine are one. This person is enlightened and accomplished. Even a small ant is being called to come here. Even those flowers are being called to come here. When you casually kick off a little rock, that rock is also being called to come here, because all is life. So we shall all take care of everything and be considerate of everything. It's not just humans are giving breath of God, breath of life, and exist in this world. I knew this from when I was a little kid. I always told adults back then, the carpets that you are stepping on are also breathing. And of course, those adults think I'm silly and insane, because they thought only humans and animals can breathe. But the universe, all existence and forms, the things you can see, like animals, plants, minerals, microorganisms, all of them are breathing. But if you are in your false self, ego self, you would not be able to see it. The moment I realize I am life, all is life, I can immediately see the carpet is breathing up and down. It's like this channel through which divine messages are being passed to everyone. We call it a great being. You can also call it breath in and breath out. I call it life. When this divine being is guiding everyone, it's called a divine breath. Everything is the breath of the divine. I use the expression life. Everything is life, but the meanings are the same. It's just like as everyone is sitting here, you think between you and the ceiling is empty space, or from the ceiling to outside to the sky, you think it's empty space in between, and there's nothing in it. The divine being and myself all say the same things. This similarly empty space is filled with life. Life is omnipresent. This divine being would tell you the breath of divine, the breath of God is everywhere, filled in the space. What I want to tell you is the same as what this divine being is telling you. I have repeated this one sentence over 40 years. I am life. You are life. My life and your life is the collective life. The divine being just changes one word. He says, I am God's breath. I'm God's love. You are God's breath and God's love. Everything is the shared breath. It's the same meaning as what I have said. There are different kinds of people in the world. To some people, money is more important than life. To some people, getting a higher education is more important than life. People all have different beliefs. For these people, my choice of words, like life, is probably not as good as effective as the divine being's choice, breath. Some people think money is very important, more important than life. Status and fame is more important. Highest education is more important. It's easy to test whether this is really true. You can take this person to the sea or river, push his head down into the water. Would he still want money, status, fame, education at this moment? No one will want these things at this moment. You can use the method to test anyone. I have experienced it firsthand, so I hope you can all practice it. If your families or relatives tell you money is most important, education and status are most important, you can just push his head down into the water and see what happens. I'm naughty, so I just pushed my friend's head down into the water. No matter how he struggles, I kept pushing his head down. His head is underwater, but he can still hear. So I asked him, do you still want money? He just shakes his head vigorously. Then I asked what he wants. He wants to talk. But as soon as he opened his mouth, bubbles were blown out. Then I put him up and asked him, what you want? He said, I just want a breath. It's a simple answer that everyone knows. It's like all your favorite dishes are on the table. If you cannot breathe, can you take even just one bite of your favorite dishes? It's impossible. I've tried another test as well. I used a skull to test it. Because life has left the skull, it cannot say what it wants. So I used to play bowling with skulls. I kick it around like a football. Doesn't matter which skull, when I kick it out like a ball, no one would complain. It's so painful, and no one complained I used it for bowling. No one skull complained being thrown around and being dizzy. Why can't I say anything? Because life has left the skull. It can no longer breathe in and out. Just like that, if you are giving a breath, you are being called. I hope you can all realize nothing manifested here are coincident. No one here is by accident. For me, after I was born, compared to learning normal subjects like English and math, I'm more interested to use my energy to search answers for questions from within. I have so many questions. If you just live because you are alive, or if you think things are there just because they are there, or things exist just because they exist. Other people live to eat, so I will just live to eat, but I never lived like that. Ever since I was school age, I have been searching answers to why it's like this and why it's like that. So this is what I found. This is the lore. If you are devoted wholeheartedly to search, to ask, the God, the divine, will give you the answer. This is the lore. I've been through this, so I know exactly how it's like. There is no question in this world without an answer. If you have any questions without an answer, then it means God is very powerful in this question. Why is it called God? Because it's perfect. We are not just human in its bodily form. We are as life. We are as love and as a sense existing in this world. Don't forget this.
その偶然というのも絶対私は小さい時から偶然で物事を片付けたこともない。
而且从小的时候开始，不管发生任何事，我从来没有一次把它认为是偶然。
今の事故は偶然でした。
人们会说发生什么事故是偶然的。
Since I was a kid, I never assumed anything happened was a coincidence. People would say accidents are accidental. People would say disasters, natural disasters are accidental. Only fools would think and say that. Since I was young, I told the adults that if everything is coincidence, then there's no need for me to come to this world. So I had a bad habit back then. I would often think, where I stand, why I have to stand here, why at this moment I'm not standing on this side or that side. It must be necessary for me to stand here, so I stand here right now. I also heard adults say, God is fair, Buddha is fair. I was searching for what is fair and equality. Just like myself, I was born in a poor family who lived in poverty. But my father's brothers and sisters and my mother's brothers and sisters were rich. So my cousins were all born in rich families. They said we were all equal, but I couldn't see how we were equal. Back then, I was only observing the world of appearance. If you have 10,000 yen, then I should have 10,000 yen, and that's fair. I had this misunderstanding when I was young. So I had a lot of questions. Where can I find equality and fairness in this world? Just like some people are sick, some are in good health. I have never been sick since I was born, but some of my relatives have poor health and always visited hospitals since they were born. Also, some are educated and some are not. So where is equality and fairness in this world? Then through reincarnation, the cycle of birth and death, I found equality and fairness through reincarnation. For example, there are 50 people. These 50 people, everyone is equal to have 5 reincarnations. How did you live your 5 lives? And how did I live my 5 lives? How one lived one's life will manifest to different outcomes now. What were your thoughts, what you said, how you behaved? These 50 people through the 5 lifetimes that they lived through, now the results are all manifested in this life. So I found a perfect answer through reincarnation. If I have been through 100 reincarnations, then now I live my life in those 100 lifetimes, will result in, at this point in time, how my life is. So if you have reincarnated hundreds of thousands of times, if you have lived well, the way you lived your life will result in your state of being at this point in time. So you have to understand your past lifestyle, how you lived your life, has resulted in your current state. The purpose of coming here is to correct the way you live your life, to recalibrate your life in the right direction. Don't complain it's other people's fault if you have problems in life at this point. Instead, you shall correct the way you live your life. So reincarnation gives us the opportunity to correct ourselves. You should know this by now. This is the real answer. This is the answer that I have been constantly searching for since I was 2. If we take a different perspective, if you live perfectly by the law, what would happen? Then this person doesn't need to reincarnate. Then there is no reincarnation. Unless you have a covenant with God to come here, you would not be forced to come here and be chained to the will of reincarnation. There's no need to reincarnate to correct yourself. This is my realization. I'm free from the law of reincarnation that has chained me for tens of thousands of years.
輪廻というのは
什么是轮回？
神に逆らった生き方をした結果、法則からずれて生きた結果、
那是一个人偏离了法则，或者一个人他违背了神这么活着。
歪んだ
So what is reincarnation? That's when you are not following the law, when you are disobeying God. If you live incorrectly or carry sins or live in dark cloud, that's the reason why you need to reincarnate to correct your life. If I have done that, then I'm God. When I and God are one, I reach the state of oneness. We shall reach the state of I am life and see if there's still reincarnation. If there still is, then it will be very strange. Unless you have covenant with God, it's not necessary for you to have a body. So I realized the law that has reincarnated tens of thousands of times has freed me from it. That was the answer I realized. So this life is the same. If it's not for the covenant that I have made with God, I would not need to have the bodily experience as Uezu and come to this world. I knew from very early age what is my mission in this life. So I come here because there is a need for me to come. It's not because I was chained to the will of reincarnation. The law of reincarnation that has operated tens of thousands of years has been liberated. In past life, how much karma have you carried? All of it has been burned to ashes by the fire of divine love. When all the faults in our lives been burned to ashes, what would be left behind? As love, as a sense, only life is real and exists. You will transcend fate and destiny. When I first saw this world is full of unjust and inequality, I found answers in reincarnation. When I searched further and further, higher and higher answers, it led me to realize that I can transcend beyond fate. Fate doesn't exist. When I was little, adults in this world, when they are suffering, when their life and work fell apart and suffer, they would say it's their fate. Why do they have bad fate? They will find all sorts of reasons like it's because of my name is no good, or my physiognomy is no good, or feng shui is no good, or else. I'm not satisfied with these answers at all. So when I was searching for life, I realized fate is life that comes. It's like what we discussed this morning. How does fate work? How does life comes to become fate? This is how life comes along. It is the way you think, the way you say things, and the way you act. This is how life operates. So your fate is how you manifest yourself as life, how you operate life. It will in turn determine your fate. If you can change the way you live, then you can change your fate. Therefore you can say, fate can be changed. But I'm not satisfied at an answer at this level. So when I searched further, I realized fate does not even exist.
実在実際にあるものは
存在真实存在是什么？
業罪カルマでもない、
不是业力罪孽罪，
運命でもない、
也不是命運。
実際にあるのは
真实存在
たった一つしかないんです。
只有一个，
それが命だったんです。
那就是生命。
で、神だったんです。
那就是神。
本質だったんです。
那就是本质。
What is reality? What is existence? It's not karma, not sin, not fate. There is only one reality. That is life. That is God. That is essence. So God is not far, far away. God is not worshipped in temples. It is not an image, not an idol. Real God is not an image or idol to which we worship or bow down to which we pray for money, happiness. No, it's not like that. This is blind faith, fanaticism, and idol worshipping. Blind faith is blindly believe something or someone. Fanaticism is obsessively believe like a crazy person. So far worshipping God, searching God like this, blindly, fanatically, there's no one in this world so far that has reached God, reached enlightenment by doing these things. I can say that no one has reached God or ever will reach God by doing these things. It's impossible.
アメリカは外国は銃を手にする社会ですよね。我々は南米でもそうだったけど。
就像美国或者我以前待过的南美，他们都是可以平常生活中可以自由地使用手枪。
お金さえあればこの幼稚園生でも銃の買える世界だったんです。私がいた当時は南米アルゼンチンでも。
我曾经待在南美的阿根廷，当时在那个年代呢，哪怕幼儿园小孩只要有钱都可以买一把枪。
I've lived in America and South America, where people can freely use firearms. I used to live in Argentina and South America when I was a kid. Back then, anyone who has money can get firearms. Children are innocent, but they also lack judgment. If children are having a fight with each other, they might shoot each other with a gun there. So it's a very scary place to live in. My dad does not allow me to have guns. My dad knew I had a hot temper and had a lot of anger. If I had guns, it would surely lead to a lot of trouble. So my dad insists that I should not have guns. I asked my dad if I don't have guns and if a leopard come to attack me on my way to school, what should I do? Do you know what my dad said? He said, you can fight the leopard bare hand, but doesn't it mean I will surely be eaten alive? But my dad was determined to prevent me from having guns. Because Jesus Christ also said something similar. It's better to be killed than to kill. So my dad actually means it's better for me not to have a gun and get eaten by a leopard than for me to kill someone with a gun when I get into a fight with other kids. If you ask people why do they own guns, they will say it's to fight their enemies. They will say it's to protect themselves. All locals would say so. If you ask those in the military why they need to have guns, battleships, fighter jets, they will say it's to protect their own country, protect themselves. So I heard this when I was little, but I never stopped searching and questioning who are the self that they are trying to protect. We are all one. There's no separate self. The real self is all. All is one. Only one exists. The separate self does not exist. If you have the wrong impression that there is a separate self, separated from the whole, then you will think there is a you and there's the enemy of you, and you need to fight the enemy. So to protect yourself and your country, you will need weapons. This is a very wrong idea. You will often see in this phenomenal world, this material world, there are always wars. But the wars and conflicts arise from within first and foremost. When you hate someone, when you are angry at someone, when you cannot forgive someone, when you cannot love someone, you are filled with hatred, jealousy, and anger. You already started a war within. Then this will manifest into the outside world as real wars and conflicts. If people are lost at what the real self is, then there will not be real peace in the world. But I am always at peace, because my heart, just like I'm always at peace, peace within. I may not meet all 80 billion people in the world in my lifetime, but there is no one that I cannot forgive, I cannot love. No one is my enemy. So people say there are endless wars, there are conflicts here, there are conflicts there. Although in this phenomenal world, wars may never end, if everyone can enter the inner peace, then we will enter world peace immediately. Everyone hopes for world peace. That's why our seminar is called The Road to Peace. But the real peace comes from our heart being filled with love, full of love. This is the real peace. In this phenomenal world, material world, although there seem to be never-ending disasters and wars, my heart is at peace in every moment. The marvelous world is within us, not outside of us. I eventually arrived at this answer. I've experienced all the things because I need to be here to share these answers to all of you. I have to experience it, but my heart has always been at peace. For the source, one is all is one. Life has no separation and life is indifferent. Therefore, how can I have enemies? How can I get into wars? So if you want peace in this material world, money, power, knowledge in this world cannot be used for world peace. One life and one body, self and the other are one. All is one. If people are awakened to this, then there will be no wars. If everyone realized this, then all weapons would disappear. If weapons don't disappear in this world, what does that mean? It means people don't understand one life and one body. Self and the other are one. All is one. If people realize the fact that one life and one body, self and the other are one, all is one, then weapons will surely disappear. So in America, people advocate for restrictions on gun ownership. But I would say if people don't understand one life and one body, then we will never have peace regardless how you advocate for it. If a person has not awakened to one life and one body, then he might only do lip service. But he might still own firearms because deep down he still thinks he's separate from the whole. He still wants to protect himself. So with these thoughts, you will not realize enlightenment. If there is still a separate self, everything is alive because there is life.
すべてはありてあらゆるものすべては招かれし者と言うんですよ。
所以才说这所有前方有的一切都是被招待来的。
スズメ一羽とて
哪怕一个小小的麻雀，
この地に落ちるには神の御心、命を授からずしてこの地に現れることはない。
他们要想来到这个地上的世界，如果没有被给予神的生命，没有被授予神的生命，他是绝对不可能出现的。
That's why all things are being called to come here, even for a sparrow. If they want to come to earth, if they are not given God's life, divine life, they would not appear here. That's why we use that expression. Even a sparrow would not come here if it's not for God's will. If I'm arguing with Jingjing today, or I am in conflict with someone, or I slipped and injured myself, if all of these are coincidence, then, as I said, when I was little, there's no point for me to come to earth. If the manifestation of your karma and everything is all coincidence, then there's no point for you to meet anyone, no point to even live in this world. Why do people live in worry, fear, and unease? That's because we live in the illusion of being the bodily self, separate from one. Whether we have a body or leave the body, everything happens at God's will. This is the result of a perfect law operating at the background, manifesting this marvelously diverse world that we live in. Why am I not worried, fearful, or uneasy? Because I live according to the law. I do not have any worry, fear, or unease. For those of you who live in violation of the law, then of course you will live in worry, fear, and unease. If I tell you I follow the law perfectly in my daily life, what does that mean? That means I'm awakened to love today. I express nothing but love today. The whole day is filled with love and wholeness. My way of life is to give and express love. It's much better and happier to give than to receive love. If you don't live in accordance to the law, you will definitely have worry, fear, and unease. If you live in accordance to the law, it's impossible to have worry, fear, and unease. For example, I have moved to Yamanashi for 10 years. I have never skied before. I occasionally will watch news like this. If you ski on a groomed ski field, normally you would not have accidents nor injuries. But there was a news that there were 2 foreigners die from ski accidents because they did not ski on the groomed ski area. They skied into areas without ski patrol. Our life is the same. If we live our daily life in accordance to the law, then we will not have any worry, fear, and unease. It's because we deviate from the law that we have worries and concerns. Why do I know suffering, agony, etc. do not exist? Because I live in accordance to the law, God's law of love. Suffering, agony, and conflict do not exist. I'm fully aware of this. If you don't follow God's law of love, then you will put yourself in hardship, and you will have suffering, agony, and sickness. So your happiness depends on justice whether you follow the law or not. It's the same for skiing. If you ski on the groomed fields, then you will not have accidents, nor have injuries. But if you are full of yourself, you ski into areas without ski patrol. If you are arrogant and ski outside the ski field boundary, then you might pay with your body and life. For ski field, that's predefined ski field boundary, and for our life, that's predefined law. There's only one law, the law of love, to care, to be considerate of all things, to love all things. This is the only law that was given to us. Hatred, jealousy, and anger, no love, no forgiveness, sense of separation. If this is how you live your life, then you surely will have suffering and agony. Everything is beautiful and everything is great if you follow the law completely. That's all you can see and sense. For the essence of love, it's impossible to have hatred, jealousy, and anger. You are beyond God. God only gave us love, oneness, and unity. We need to live as love. Everything is love. Then people will not forgive, not love. People will hate, will be jealous, will be angry, will live in separation because of their own fabricated ideas and concepts. They will for sure then deviate from predefined paths. What's the difference between you and me? I devoted my life to follow the ski boundaries, follow the law, dedicated my life to correct my thoughts, words, and acts, not to harm anyone. But most people do not follow the law. Most people live in separateness. If you deviate from the predefined path, you will have suffering, agony, and ultimately you will destroy your body. So if you look at a person's way of life, then you will understand why this person suffers so much. Then you will understand why this person suffers so much. His or her way of life brings much suffering and agony. If a person wants to taste endless bliss, taste endless joy and happiness, then he or she will have to live in accordance to the law. Then this person will devote his life to follow the law. Happiness is a simple word, but it has deep meaning. It's joy of this life. It's also joy of immortality. You do have a free will given by God to freely choose what kind of happiness you want. I would not interfere at all. I do hope that everyone can experience what I'm experiencing right now from within, the eternal happiness from the fountain of love within. Today, as God, as love, I'm with you. I'm grateful to be with you all. Next, please follow the guided meditation practice led by Mr. Lin. Everyone can immerse in the eternal bliss. Go in love and peace.